So today for the cancellation, I think my job is pretty easy. I need only pass the cancellation mic, the baton, to an unnamed woman, as yet unnamed, on the subway, who, different subway from the Inside Edition thing, who took matters into her own hands to cancel a disgusting pornographic ad campaign by the dating app OKCupid. OKCupid has littered subways and other areas in many major cities with posters and billboards advertising its services, with messages declaring that OKCupid is for every single pansexual, every single non-monogamist, every single vaxxer. And then there's a close-up picture of two people French kissing with their tongues apparently melded together. There it is. You can see that. Every single tree hugger, with a picture of a half-naked guy with a potted plant shoved down his underwear. They've also plastered signs that say things like, it's okay to have strong convictions and abandon them for a night. And it's okay to only date someone who's pro-choice. And many other messages in that vein. Well, this woman on the train decided that she didn't approve of this campaign and was worried that children would see it and be influenced by it. So she responded by going through the train and simply tearing all of the posters down herself. Pretty great stuff. Check it out.
I don't know, for kids to be looking at this, is that okay?
No, it's not. It's wrong.
This is propaganda.
Yeah.
This is
Normalizing.
It's affecting
Yeah.
the next generation.
Yeah.
I don't know why no one sees this.
No.
This is disgusting.
Because TV told them not to get upset.
Divide and conquer. That's what the Chinese want. They're trying to divide and conquer us. The government is against us, and you guys don't see it. You guys think that you take a vaccine and this is going to go away? It's never going to go away. So we, the people, say we don't want this anymore.
Thank you.
Beautiful sight to behold there. Not the posters, but this woman doing what needs to be done. This is, of course, exactly the correct response to the insane filth that's shoved down our throats and our kids' throats everywhere we go. The correct response is not tolerance. It's not politeness. It's not to be passive or nonchalant. It's not to transcribe all of our grievances in an email and fire it off to OKCupid Customer Service Center just so they can ignore it or rather gather around on their lunch break and laugh at it. The right approach is to remove the filth yourself. Intolerance for it. Intolerance is a virtue. One of the biggest mistakes we ever made in this culture and as conservatives is to believe the lie that tolerance is a universal virtue, that it's a universal good, and that you're somehow a good person, that how good you are as a person can be judged by your capacity to put up with things. Man, that's an easy virtue, tolerance. The great thing about the so-called virtue of tolerance is that you can be a virtuous person while laying on your couch eating Doritos. Because when you do that, you're tolerating everything. When you see something bad happening and you look the other way, that's tolerance. You're being tolerant. So it's a great virtue for cowards and lazy people. And that's why it's not a real virtue at all. She's displaying righteous intolerance here by removing it. Now, they could go and put up the filth again, sure, but then, we should just take it down again. Back and forth until they get the message. That's what the other side would do and has done. The only question is whether we want to continue abiding by rules that they don't abide by. They see something they don't like and they just say, well, I'll just take it down. That's it. I'll take it down. Even if it's a 150-year-old statue. I'll get a crowd of people. We'll use some straps and we'll pull the thing down. Should we handicap ourselves with this weird notion of decorum? I mean, there's appropriate times for decorum. I think this is an inappropriate time. Should we do that while the other side rides through the land doing as they please? Now, of course, you might argue that this is not a matter of mere decorum. Perhaps this is a matter of rights, you might say. In fact, I've seen people on the right make this argument in response to this heroic woman in the subway, the subway avenger, as I have just now decided to call her. They've said that OKCupid has private property rights and free speech rights, and that this woman has infringed on the rights of the poor degenerates over at OKCupid by behaving in this way? To that, I think there are two responses. First one is, even if that's true, who cares? But second, it's not true. You don't have any fundamental right to plaster filth and degeneracy in public areas. You don't have any fundamental right to flood society with this kind of sewage. You have the legal right, yes. Nobody disputes that. I mean, there's no question that this woman committed a crime, at least vandalism, at least a misdemeanor, according to the law. No doubt about that. But then again, and if she's charged with a crime and faces any legal trouble, then I'll want to know where her GoFundMe is so I can donate to it and also post it and get more people to donate to it. But then again, in most states except Texas, there's also no question that doctors who kill children in the womb have not committed a crime according to the law. Does that mean they have an actual fundamental human right to do what they're doing? No. Because while legal rights are granted by the government, human rights, actual rights, upon which our legal rights are supposed to be based, are granted by God. If they're not granted by God, then the concept of human rights makes no sense. It has no meaning. The people who first developed the concept of human rights certainly thought that they were derived from the Creator. If they were wrong about that, then they were probably wrong about human rights existing at all. In which case, our legal rights are entirely arbitrary and you have no deep moral calling to respect them. If we have no fundamental God-given human rights, then when we talk about rights, we just mean this is what the government says. The people in charge of the government right now say this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And you might respect that because because they use force and you're afraid of the force they might use on you if you don't respect it. But there's no deeper moral obligation to respect it because it's arbitrary. But if rights are derived from God, then the question is whether God desires for OKCupid to promote pansexuality and non-monogamy and pornography on the subway. The question really, we could boil it down to this, is whose side do you think God is on? The people who put those posters up or the woman who tore them down? I think the answer to that question is very clear. And we need to start thinking about things in these terms. We know what the government says. We also know who's in charge of the government. We know what the ruling class is all about. We know what they say our rights are and our rights aren't. But where do these rights actually derive from? Whose authority are we in the end going to ultimately respect? God's authority or the government's authority? And that's why today, rather than canceling that woman, I join her in canceling OKCupid, which she has already done such a fantastic job of doing. And we'll leave it there for today on, I don't know if I call it a positive note, as positive as you're going to get on this show. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with all your friends.